Release the Kraken! Look at the puddle ducks. Always last to the party. So good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great day today. Just out here in the ducks. It's a nice and chilly 30 degrees. When I came out here to change the duck water this morning, as you can see, it was all frozen. In a recent video that I did about planting trees, a lot of you had questions about what the deal is with all of these quote-unquote PVC pipes. Well, they're not actually PVC pipes. They are tree tubes. When you have baby trees, one of the biggest risks you have to deal with in the early years is contending with animals, specifically deer and rodents. As far as the deer go, they will browse down and they will eat your plants apart and they will just brutalize them. They just love to eat that stuff, especially in the winter. They'll eat all the buds so that the tree can't grow that next year. And they do a pretty nasty job. They will also rub against kind of intermediate age trees, and that also can really significantly damage them. It can rip up their bark. It can cause a lot of problems. The other problem you'll have are rodents. So specifically voles, but also mice to a certain extent, love to tunnel in and around the trees, especially eat at the base of the trunk of a baby tree and eat around the bark, do something known as girding. When they do that, they can actually kill and dry out a tree. So that is another reason why you'd want these tree tubes. So I put the tree tubes on our more high value trees. So for example, so if you look at these black locust trees, right, they've got some grizzly thorns. So I'm not all that worried about a deer or something coming and eating on those. But as far as the chestnuts go, I feel like they are a much more delicate tree and they're actually much more important to our long-term plans. So to do that, I protect them with these tree tubes. I opted for the 72-inch tubes. They're actually just a little bit taller than me. Actually a lot of bit taller than me. I'm a short guy. The idea is that the tree grows undisturbed in the tube for the first couple of years. It starts to pop out of the top, and it's at a height that is much, much harder for the deer to browse and graze on. You can actually see in this mulberry tree, it's actually just started to pop up over the tube over the course of this year. That was about 18 inches tall when I planted it a year ago, and now it's already popping up over the top of the tube. I expect a lot more of these trees to do that next year. I only had a handful that did that this year. I ordered tree tubes from a company called TreePro. It's specifically their Miracle Tube model. I'll leave a link to it if you want to find them for yourself. I bought a whole bunch of them in bulk, so I got a pretty good discount, and I keep them stashed over in our barn. See, look, this is my secret stash. It was financially advantageous for me to buy more than I needed and stash them here in the barn for future use. Keeping guard for mice, Pablo? Good. Thanks, buddy. I am not doing this as a commercial for them. They have not paid me. They have not given me anything free. So in full disclosure, I am just a guy trying to grow trees, trying to teach other guys and gals about how to grow trees, and I found them to be a very helpful product. So these things are pretty well made. They're just a solid piece of some sort of plastic. They are translucent, so they actually let light in. According to the manufacturer, they let in about 95% of the sunlight. So they're not going to create issues for you as far as light blocking goes. You'll notice here, it's got little holes too. Those holes are allowing them to vent, because the other thing that these tree tubes do is they create what's known as a greenhouse effect. They trap heat in. It's really nice, especially at this time of year, because I have a theory that it's extended the growing season maybe a couple weeks on the front end and a couple weeks on the back end as I try to protect against frosts here on our farm. So especially here in northern Vermont, having that a little extra growing time is really useful. They're very easy to install. All you have to do is you use like a post driver to put in the garden stake. You can buy the garden stakes from the manufacturer, or you can just find your own. They come already pre-installed with these zip ties. So you're able to slide the tube off you know, the zip ties are actually adjustable too. So you can change the size to make it easy to pull them off, or you can tighten it to make it easier to put them back on. This is actually a 2-year-old chestnut seedling. We put it in last year right around this time. It was about this tall. It's now grown up to here. I'd actually hope that by the end of next year, it's probably up to about the height of the garden stake. You always want to be careful when you put the tube back on. Make sure you're not pinching any branches or cropping them unnaturally. I also find it's pretty important to push really hard to make sure that they're firmly down in the ground in here. The tight placement to the ground makes them much less attractive to voles and other rodents. The tubes stay up pretty good. This whole hill gets pretty windy, especially in the winter. And there were only a couple times that we had to put tree tubes back up after a bad windstorm or a blizzard. So it's pretty low maintenance. There is one downside though that I discovered the other day while I was actually checking on trees and replanting some trees. So one of the things I've noticed is, especially in the spring and summer, birds love to like sit on the top of this and nest. You can see like this whole tube is covered in bird crap. And I don't particularly care about that part of it, but I have made a couple of discoveries of what can happen with these tubes with birds. One of the things I noticed was this. Let me get in closer here. See this? Feathers. It is a rotten dead bird carcass right here. By my count, I've found 7 dead birds trapped in these tree tubes. And even a couple of weeks ago, I was actually walking through here checking on some stuff, and I heard a bird struggling to get out, kind of jumping up and down. What I think happens is these small birds, they're just like little small songbirds. They jump down to the bottom of the tube to try to find food or whatever, and they end up getting stuck because they don't have enough space to flap their wings enough to fly out, and so they get trapped at the bottom of the tube. So I guess the upside though would be that this dead bird is now going to be fertilizer for this little tree seedling, little chestnut. So guess the circle of life, right? So it's not a deal breaker for me. I mean, I feel like the overall net benefit that the trees are going to do for the land outweighs the cost of a few birds, but it is something to be aware of, and it is something to watch out for. If you guys want to learn more about how we built our 600 tree permaculture orchard with about 6,000 feet of swales and berms, be sure to watch this video over here, or you can learn more about our farm by watching this. Also, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you in the next video.